This episode is for the writers who know that they are really good writers. You know how to turn a phrase. You know how to tap into your voice, and you have a style. You love the craft of writing, and you know that the quality of your writing can be exemplary. And I say this with so much love, friend. Just because you're a good writer does not necessarily mean that you're going to write a good memoir. Today, I will show you the missing piece in the creativity of memoir writing so that you can write a beautiful memoir that is also a good memoir. So let's get into it. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. I read through a manuscript earlier this year, and this writer was so good. Like the way that they described scenes from childhood truly made me feel like I was physically there with them. I loved how they wrote, how they created a scene. But their manuscript did not have the emotional resonance that I was looking for. I could tell that this one moment in the manuscript was really important to the author, but I could not figure out why it was going to be important to the reader. So art is weird. Art is weird, and I want to talk about readers and creativity for just a minute. Being a writer is weird because you are creating and you are pulling from that creative well inside of you, and then you are also creating something for someone else. And a key part of my memoir method is discerning who that someone is, because that greatly determines how you will tell your story and what you decide to emphasize or de-emphasize in the actual events of the plot. So you can think about this as if you're buying a family car. Okay, so the way that you're going to talk to your spouse about making this big purchase, that is going to be a much different conversation. You're going to bring a different set of information, a different attitude, a different voice to conversing with your spouse than you would if you are talking to your kids. Like, hey, we're going to get a new car. What kind of features do you want? You're trying to pump them up for it, right? You're talking about the same thing. It's a new family car, but the way that you have that conversation is so different depending on who you're having that conversation with. And so when you are working on your memoir manuscript, it's really important to know who you're having this conversation with. And that is something that we spend a lot of time on in my memoir method. So you're creating something for someone else, but writing is also art in a lot of ways. So much of writing is artistry, right? I have been writing for as long as I can remember because that has always been my favorite way to express myself. The easiest way for me to work out my thoughts is through words. And maybe you're the same way. Maybe you're like me. Or maybe you are someone who's never thought of themselves as a writer until you have something to write about. That's actually a lot of writers that I work with. I never thought of myself as a writer until I had this spark to write this book, to write my memoir. There is this balance between self-indulgent writing and performative writing. So when I say self-indulgent writing, I mean thinking that just because something mattered to you, that it's automatically going to matter to everyone else. You just kind of go on and on about you, right? And again, it's so hard to talk about this because art is weird. And then there's performative writing. So that shape-shifting your story and your voice and the message for the reader on the other side to the point of kind of creative self-abandonment. And that's a really tricky balance to find. My memoir method does work to help you find that narrow balance between inspiration and that creative shape-shifting self-abandonment mode. We don't want either of those, but it's tricky because art is weird. It comes from a very personal, intimate place, and also others are going to be consuming it. So how much do you consider the other person who's going to be consuming it when you are actually creating it? And I went on this little tangent mainly to say that art can feel slippery sometimes, and I really feel for you when you know that you've written something that is technically stunning but falls emotionally flat. That's a really frustrating place to be. And this is also why it's crucial to have other people read your draft, preferably someone who doesn't already know you. One of the gifts of working with an editor like myself is that not only do my clients get my expertise on their work, they also get my complete objectivity. That is such a gift, especially when you are writing something as personal and intimate as a memoir. I do not know my clients in any other context besides their memoir manuscript and whatever else they decide to share with me. So this is one of the biggest assets to you as a writer when you are choosing professionals to work with, is that ability to be objective. Thank you for indulging me as I went on that little rabbit trail about art and writing and how much you consider the other person on the other side. So let's get into why great writing does not always equate to great memoir. One of the biggest blind spots that my clients have is thinking that they just have to write what happened to them and the reader will find it fascinating. Sometimes that works. That is why celebrity memoirs are so compelling. We as the readers, most of whom are not famous when we're reading a celebrity memoir, most of us are not famous, right? We love to see behind the curtain. We love to see what's happening behind the scenes, especially when it has to do with a show, a movie, or something else that we already like. I remember being very entertained by Tina Fey's memoir, Bossy Pants, because I love her show 30 Rock. Also, memoirists with highly unusual lives can write what happened and people will want to read it. So I'm thinking of memoirs like Educated by Tara Westover and The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Both of those stories highlight significant family dysfunction, and as readers, we do love us some drama. Most times, though, your reader will not care about what happened to you just because it happened to you. I'm going to get really honest about my own reading life for a second. Those stories that I just mentioned, Educated and The Glass Castle, those are by pretty normal people. And they are compelling because they're more unusual and it highlights a lot of dysfunction. There's a bit of drama there. Those stories are compelling. They don't stick with me personally. They wasn't life-changing for me to read them. I enjoyed them for what they were. I learned a lot from them. I couldn't stop turning pages, but it's not something that I just go back and think about like, oh, that is one of the books that really impacted me. Part of that is that I'm a window reader to books like Educated and The Glass Castle. I do not have much shared experience with those types of lives. I have friends, though, who have read those books and they have felt that their own complicated childhoods were actually really well represented. So for me, I did not share lived experience with Tara Westover or Jeanette Walls. And so while it was interesting to me, I valued them. Those memoirs are not something that I think about on the regular. I personally resonate most with ordinary stories about ordinary people. You can write so well about something that happened, but if you want to write great memoir, your great writing needs to connect with the reader on a deeper level beyond the plot. I say this all the time to my clients. You think your memoir is about you. It's not. It is about what your reader can connect with through your story. When I say that I love ordinary stories about ordinary people, it's because the way that they write helps me see myself. There are things that I emotionally resonate with. I'm thinking specifically about Mary Laura Philpott. She's an essayist, and Kelly Corrigan, who is also an essayist. Those are two memoir writers who I really connect with their work. And I really love reading these ordinary stories because I love how they pull out the beauty in normal everyday things, because that's what I love to write about. That's how I love to pay attention to my life. And when I read those books, I pay attention to my own life differently. So again, it's not about what happened to you. It's about how are you connecting to the reader and what connections can the reader make into their own lives, into their own stories because of what you wrote. So once you have that new puzzle piece about what your reader can connect with through your story, you have to have an idea of who that reader is. And that's a big piece of the work that I do with writers using my memoir method. Once you can picture your reader, then you can start to figure out what about your story can connect them, and you can use your beautiful, amazing writing to bridge that gap. You can use this insight and foundation of your memoir then to better write the story that you need to write that will also be what someone else needs to hear. So if you think about what you need to write as one circle and what your reader needs to hear as another circle, you want to pour into the draft where those two circles overlap in the Venn diagram. Like I said, this is the core of the work I do inside of my Memoir Method program. I walk with you through naming why your story is relevant to your reader and then how to make that story resonate with them. As an editor and writing coach, I care about good memoir and good writing. I want your memoir to, one, say what it needs to say, what you need it to say, what your reader needs it to say, and two, sound the most like you. I want you to sound the most you as possible. So I have taken the core of this memoir method, a process that I've used with my writers privately for 5 years now, and I'm bringing this into a group cohort workshop style experience. Starting in January, I will not only be walking writers through this process, I will also be reviewing your work and giving custom feedback so that you know that you are on track. I want to make sure that you are pacing and that what you are producing and creating with this curriculum is actually what you need to be doing. I'm going to be in the work with you, pacing, making sure that you are creating exactly what you are meant to create. I'm so excited about this program because it is a unique blend of coursework, active workshopping, and live coaching. You can head to the link in the show notes to learn more. And to celebrate this holiday season with you, the first 5 writers who enroll in the winter cohort of the Memoir Method will get a free one-on-one intensive with me to go even deeper into their Memoir Method work. At the time of this recording, 2 of those bonus intensives are already claimed. So there's only 3 left. Once those bonus spots are claimed, they are claimed. So if you already know that you want to be in this space in the new year with me, then go ahead and enroll, and I will share everything that you need to know about your intensive, about how that's going to work and how to book it. But it's my little holiday gift to you. If you want to have more high-touch support as you go through the Memoir Method, I do have some one-on-one spots opening up in the winter. I walk writers through this process privately all the time. And throughout December, for every new one-on-one client who joins me, I am tacking on 2 extra calls to your package to any new one-on-one writer. So I just want to give back to you this holiday season. You can find links to join the Memoir Method in the show notes and links to book a private call with me, a free 30-minute call to kind of talk about any one-on-one work that you're interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do love walking you through this process and helping you connect with your readers. I read a lot of memoir manuscripts, and you really are an incredible writer. And what I love to do is making sure that your incredible writing is actually reaching your reader. Your reader isn't going to care if your writing's beautiful, if what you're saying isn't relevant to them. And so that's the gap that we get to fill in together. And that is what I love doing with you. You can always find me on Instagram at the.memoir.coach, or you can email me at hello@bookishedits.com, and I can help you figure out what would be a good fit for you and how I can best support you. If you're unsure about what's a good fit for you in your writing, the Memoir Method, one-on-one, don't hesitate to reach out and I will help you figure out how I can best support you. So thank you so, so much, and I will see you next time. You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.